Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Jana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vraja Jana Ranjana Jaya Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamunati Ravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse number 29. You can take it out on your mobile phones, or if you have a Bhagavad Gita. It's written on the board? Oh. Can you help? I never knew. Is it 729?
Can you read the first line?
Jara Marana Mokshaya. Jara. Oh, it's from the morning, so it's not written, yeah. I wasn't told. Yeah, okay, anyways. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 29. So, chapter 7 is entitled Jnana Vijnana Yoga, which is the knowledge about the Absolute. So, the shloka is the second last verse of the chapter 7, and it's like this. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mama Shritya Yatanti Ye Te Brahma Tad Vidhu Kritsnam Jara Marana Mokshaya Mama Shritya Yatanti Ye Te Brahma Tad Vidhu Kritsnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakhilam. Mataji's. Jara Marana Mokshaya Mama Shritya Yatanti Ye Te Brahma Tad Vidhu Krishnam Adhyatmam Karma Chakhilam. Okay. Word meanings. Jara, from old age. Marana, and death. Mokshaya, for the purpose of liberation. Mam, me. Ashritya, taking shelter of. Yatanti, endeavor. Yea, all those who. They, such persons. Brahma, Brahman. Tat, actually that. Viduhu, they know. Kritsnam, everything. Adhyatmam, transcendental. Karma, activities. Cha, also. Akhilam, entirely. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhaicharanaranda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Purport. Birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So one who attains, and they know everything about transcendental activities. 4 kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals. And by the grace of the Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman, because they are actually endeavoring to reach Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. Those who are engaged in worshipping the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in meditation on the Lord simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purpose of Brahman, adhibhuta, etc., as explained by the Lord in the next chapter. So, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Homa Yajna timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya manubhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa gadamahyam dadati swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Gurun Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Dadale Krishna Krishna Bhaktaya Dadbhaktaya Namo Namah. Jai. Okay, so here in this verse there is a mention of Brahman. So we should not get confused between the wordings. The word Brahmana and the word Brahman. Here the word Brahman is denoting the supreme effulgence that comes out of Krishna's body. That's called the Brahman effulgence. Here we are talking about that and not the Varna Brahman or the Brahmana from that order. So that's the distinction here. And we need to know the context first about the chapter 7th. So, buddhirevacha ahankaram itiyam me bhinna prakritirashtadha. So, Krishna describes his energies, bhumi, rapa, anala, vayu. These are the four, the gross elements of this material world. And so, he's describing his energies, and then he also describes the difficulty in overcoming Maya. And then he also describes the four kinds of people, the pious people, four kinds of pious people who approach him. And as Prabhupada himself he explains in this verse, there are the four kinds of people that approach Krishna. And finally, he also contrasts, he lists out the difference between devotees and non-devotees. And non-devotees, in a sense, they are demigod worshippers, and devotees, in a sense, they're worshippers of Lord Shri Krishna. So what is the contrast between the two, the devotees and the non-devotees? And now finally, on the 28th verse, the second last verse of the 7th chapter, he talks about those who surrender are truly intelligent. So here Krishna talks about intelligent people. And from the first word, for the first line of this verse, Krishna talks about who is such intelligent person. So, and this is like the conclusion of the chapters, because it's the second last verse of the chapter. So Krishna concludes the chapter by saying real Brahman. So the person who is really situated in this intelligent Brahman conception of life is the one who is taking shelter and liberation of Lord Shri Krishna. So one who takes shelter in me is the truly intelligent person. That's what Krishna means in this verse. So we will start by defining the problem that Lord Shri Krishna, he describes, which is the starting word. Does anyone remember? Starts with the most basic thing that we are worried about, which is old age. All of us have to die, and old age is the proof that we are dying. We're dying every second. Every second is passing, and every second we're dying. So Krishna starts with something that's very fundamentally worrying for every person on this earth: jara, old age. In fact, it actually reminds me of this pastime from Mahabharata, where the yaksha, the king of the yakshas, or one of the yaksha, I don't remember the name of the yaksha, that he's confronting King Yudhishthira, and he actually tests King Yudhishthira to test his intelligence. And Yudhishthira, he answers all of the questions posed by the yaksha completely, truly, properly. So the yaksha is very much impressed. And the last question that he asked King Yudhishthira was that, what is the most astonishing, amazing thing in this world? Can anyone say in their mind, what is the most amazing thing in this world? What's the most astonishing, amazing thing?
I think it was something like people live as if they will never die.
Yes.
They die as if they...
Yes. So the King Yudhishthira answered that every day thousands of people are dying, millions of people are dying. In a catastrophe, something happens, calamity comes, and thousands of people are dead. So in spite of knowing that every day there is suffering, every day there is death, the living entity in this material world thinks he's enjoying in this world. He doesn't ever want to be reminded of the pain and suffering. He never wants to be reminded that he's going to die someday. But he just thinks, oh, I'm going to live forever and I'm going to enjoy this material world. That's what he thinks, and he tries to find happiness in those thoughts. So that is what I find the most astonishing, amazing in this world. That's what Yudhishthira Maharaj said, and this is rightfully so. And here Krishna, he says jara, old age, and the second word is marana. The two most sure things in this world: birth, and one who's taken birth has to die, and he grows old before dying, or somehow of his karmas he achieves death even before he grows old. So Krishna says jara marana moksha. So he talks about how these are parts of the threefold miseries that we know of: Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik. So the threefold miseries, they are, it's a part of these miseries: Jara and Marana, old age and disease. They are actually a more subtle covered parts of the fourfold kinds of miseries, which is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. So Janma is birth, Mrityu is death, Jara is old age, and finally Vyadhi is disease. So these are the fourfold miseries in this world, and then everyone is struggling to avoid these. So they want modern medicines, modern technology, cryogenics, transfusions. There are so many things happening in this world right now, in this modern world. People are trying to get away from suffering, and they're trying to find new ways how to get away from the suffering. And even we learn from the history in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, even great demons like Hiranyakashipu, he basically cheated death until Krishna had to appear as Nrsingadev, because he had basically found a cheat code to death. He could not be killed by anything, not inside, not outside. Such a cheat code he had created to avoid death. He was very intelligent, very well crafted, but he was not intelligent enough, because then he had to be killed. And we know who is the real intelligent person, Krishna says. Who is the real intelligent person? The one who is truly seeks liberation onto the lotus feet of Krishna is the one who is truly intelligent. Not someone like Hiranyakashipu, who is trying to find ways to, cheat death. And so great emperors like Alexander, Napoleon, they came, they conquered, and which is dukkha and alaya. Dukkha is suffering, alaya means house. So this material world is a house of suffering, and it has one more quality, which is ashashvatam, temporary. Everything is temporary in this world. You find happiness today, the next day you're crying out of suffering. You just get a news that, I'm a student, so you have scored 100 marks in this question, in this exam. So you're happy and you're like jubilant and you're screaming and jumping, oh I got good marks. And you don't watch down where you're walking, and then you stumble and you fall down, and now you're hurt. So you're happy at one time, and then you're suffering and sad at this very next second. So nothing is certain, everything is temporary. That's what we learn here. And the Shastra says that Jara and Marana, who dies? Because we are the part and parcel of Krishna. We're the soul. We have been fed this snippets of knowledge so many times that we are not this body, we're the soul. So we don't die. Who dies? The body dies, and we're not this body. So Krishna says, Nahanyate hanya mane sharire. The soul never dies. The soul is never hanyate. Soul can never be killed or destroyed. And so here we see the contrast. Material attempts to overcome death will always result in failures. So here we learn two examples. Which one were the two examples? The example of Hiranyakashipu and the examples of the modern people, modern scientists that are trying to achieve immortality. So actually I wanted to talk a bit more about this, how these new age masterminds or neuroscientists, they're trying to achieve immortality. So let's dive deep down on this, which is they're actually trying to, in the fields of biotech and marrow of your body, they'll take some cells and they use those stem cells to basically rectify and create some kind of a biological clone or something that is used to, basically it's used to longevity, for the longevity of your body. So that's what they're doing, and they're doing gene editing. So these are very complex scientific terminologies that they're spending billions of research dollars onto these topics, and like so many companies, they're like dedicated to, a whole section is dedicated on how to extend the human lifespan, and like we know death is guaranteed. Like, it's not new. It's not new that we are trying to avoid death. Millions of years ago, Hiranyakashipu did. He tried. He almost achieved. But at the end, he had to die. So death is certain. We cannot escape death. So Prabhupada says, you may prolong, like, okay, we accept that the modern medicines and science, they're actually good, and we can go into at least this position that we can extend our life to 100, 150, 200, even 200 years, Prabhupada says. But death will come. Death is certain. It will come one day or other. You cannot escape death. That's the point of, that's the law of the nature. Anything that has taken birth has to die. So, and then nowadays they're even using artificial intelligence to basically create this false notion of living. So what's so mind-boggling is that they're freezing their bodies. And they're making artificial intelligence systems study the whole structure of that person's body, the whole structure of that person's brain and everything, and they're trying to replicate the person into life by using AI. So that's how far, the scientists or the great think tanks of our today's world, they're trying so hard to. People will always try in this material world. People will always try to get out of these miseries. But only intelligent people know how to get out of this misery, as Krishna says in the verse. The only intelligent people know how to get out of this misery, which is to surrender unto him and into his lotus feet and get liberated from this material world. Only liberation from this material existence can guarantee you happiness and exempt from death. And what's the solution? Krishna says, Mam ashritya, taking shelter of me. Mam means me. Ashritya, the word ashritya means shelter. So Krishna says, Te brahma tadvidu kritsnam adhyatma karma chakilam mam ashritya yatanti ye. So Krishna says, those who take shelter of mam, me, mam ashritya, not the demigods, not the impersonal Brahman, but Krishna directly. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Krishna says that surrender unto me, I am the supreme, I am the absolute, so many times on Bhagavad Gita. So many times. Just as this verse, Mama Shritya, Sarva dharman parityajya. So many verses that you can think of. And there are so many Sharanagati elements, like Sharanagati is process of surrender. So there are like so many processes of surrender. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. That's what is said in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So bhakti as a boat can only cross this death-like ocean of materialist existence. So the boat of bhakti, you need to get on this boat of devotional service to cross this ocean. And from the purport, we read that there is a big chunk of the context in this purport, Prabhupada speaks on the Brahman, as I stated in the beginning of the class, that here the Brahman is, we're talking about the supreme impersonal feature of the Lord. It's the Brahma Jyoti, which means it is the effulgence coming out of the body of Krishna. So that's the Brahma Jyoti. And Mayavadi interpretation is that they want to merge into the body of Krishna, but they don't realize that they're merging into the body of Krishna. They think that the Brahma Jyoti, or the light, is absolute. So there are certain factions of people in this world who think that God is some Paramatma and Bhagavan. Brahman is the light, the effulgence. So the people who are attracted towards the light, they are the Mayavadis, and who think that God is some kind of a light and some kind of energy, who has no form, no taste, touch, nothing. Is just this energy in this world, and it's this effulgent light that we want to go and achieve, or we want to merge into this light. So that's the Mayavadi theory, and or Brahmavadi theory. So they simply quote this verse, Aham Brahmasmi, or Jai Bladashing Deva Ki Jai. And they simply quote this verse, and it gives them great satisfaction to keep on quoting this verse and saying, oh, the Vedas say, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the eternal Brahman. But Prabhupada refutes that same statement, that yes, we are Brahman, but here the Brahman is the intelligent person. Here the Brahman is, you are part of the Brahman. We are part and parcels of Krishna. Yes, we are Brahman, but we are minuscule. Yes, we are God in a sense that we are only qualitative. We have the qualities of Krishna in a sense that we have this beautiful four-armed form of the Lord himself, or the two-armed form of Krishna himself. So we have the quality of God, but we don't have the quantity of God. That's the difference. So the Mayavadis, they fail to understand this basic difference, that after we are done in this material world and we achieve Brahman, we are not getting merged into Brahman and becoming God ourselves. We're not God ourselves. We have the quality of God, but we're not God, because we're not, what's the difference? We're quantitatively less. We are less in quantity. And that's the reason, that's the stark difference, the stark contrast. So, and what's the key sastric point Prabhupada has highlighted in this verse, which is, Jnana without bhakti, it is incomplete. So people can have all kinds of knowledge. Jnana means knowledge. So people can have all kinds of knowledge, but without the special mercy of bhakti or devotion, that is incomplete. And bhakti, what is bhakti? So bhakti includes jnana. And jnana alone does not guarantee. As we know from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the highest attainment, or the highest process of attainment of me, is through bhakti, or devotion, through devotional service. So bhakti actually includes full knowledge of Brahman. Bhakti includes full adhyatma, or spirituality. Bhakti includes all kinds of karma. So bhakti is all inclusive. It is the topmost yoga practice form. So, as we hear in this verse, and I just talked about the three realizations of the Supreme God. So how there are three kinds of realizations that people have about God. So if you ask a person, what do you think about God? They will say, he's a light, or he's this energy. So that's the Brahman realization of God. And then there comes, second is the Paramatma realization of God. So people will say, oh yeah, God is there. He's there in God is there in everyone. God is residing in everything. God is there in everyone. So that kind of realization is the Paramatma, because we see that Krishna as a Paramatma is residing in everyone's heart. The verse from Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So Krishna says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam, inside all living entities, Ishvara. Hridaya arjuna tishtati. O Arjuna, Krishna is residing in the heart of every living entity. And yantra rudhani maya, this material body is a yantra. Yantra is actually a device. So even in this scientific conception of knowledge, we can actually see this material body is the topmost form, most complex form of a machine. So today I am studying artificial intelligence right now in the university, and people are trying to give all of their life, their time, everything to develop this artificial intelligence more and more, make it more human. But Krishna has created already this artificial intelligence. We don't need another AI, because we are the living proof of a real intelligence. We don't need to be created by any scientific theory. It's just happening because of Krishna's mercy. And there is pure science involved in this, the science of Bhakti Yoga. And we understand how even at the tiniest minuscule form, everything is organized in this world. As we know the system, how this world is organized, the position of the earth is so accurate from the distance to the sun. The position is so accurate that even if it was just a few kilometers away from the sun, we would have either frozen or we could have even scorched to death. So who created that perfect balance? And these are the empirical evidences that point towards a certain creator. And we start as minuscule cells, minuscule cells. And those cells develop into tissues, into organ systems, and into this whole human body. Is such a greatest, marvelous engineering feat. In the fields of biotechnology or anything, there is nothing like this. There's this very, very, very small thing inside the cell. It's called DNA. So the DNA is actually the information. So DNA has all the information that's required to make a certain body. Nowadays, scientists have found a way to take the DNA from an elephant, and they actually found a deceased body of a mammoth. So how many of you know mammoth here? Mammoth elephant. Anybody? Mammoths, So mammoth elephants, they are animals of the Ice Age. They were roaming on this earth for thousands of years ago during the Ice Age. That's what the scientists claim, and they have found the body of a mammoth, and they took a DNA sample from the mammoth, because the DNA sample you can take from any deceased anything, so everything has DNA. So they took this DNA encoding from a mammoth, and they took encoding from a real life elephant, and they created this embryo through genetic engineering, and they are somehow able to, on the process of creating a mammoth life. So they are using this this intelligence, and they are creating some kind of form that was there in the past, which is not there anymore. So they're taking these DNA information and creating a new life. So that's what Krishna says, in that intelligent people, they do not need to endeavor into this material world, because everything is manufactured and made possible by Krishna. So the scientists, they take all of these DNA particles and information, they put the DNA into the cell, and they just leave it. Leave it for who? Leave it for what? So the only thing that scientists can do is they can bring about the elements, bring about the items, and then they can leave it for the nature to do its work. You see the hypocrisy here. And then the scientists will claim that, we have created a new life. So they are basically leaving the main part of their work into nature. So yes, that's a very immaculate, intelligent, marvelous feat that they're able to do this. It requires a lot of intellectual prowess. Yes, we acknowledge that. But at the end, what do? They are in the mercy of the nature, because they cannot themselves make the cells replicate and turn into a new life. They cannot do it. Prabhupada says life comes from life. So they are actually bringing life together to create another life. They are not bringing chemicals together to create a life. You cannot create life by chemicals, or you cannot create life by anything material, substantial. It needs to be from life. So they are bringing cells together to create a life. That means they are bringing life together to create life. Life comes from life. That's what Prabhupada says every time. He loves this quote. He has written, there is a book, Life Comes from Life. So that's what we realize from this. And then a shelter of me, understanding me. And what is the way we understand Krishna? Through what process do we understand Krishna? Through bhakti. And through bhakti, through our sadhana, through chanting, service, hearing, Bhagavatam, realization, and we move ahead into this wonderful system that we've got. And then what happens? Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. So in this great life, in this great way of bhakti, you don't have to fear, because Krishna says do not fear. Why? Because all we need to do is devotional service. And what happens after our whole life of devotional service? Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. So that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4. After leaving the body, you don't have to have a punarjanma. You don't have to come back to this material world. Hey Arjuna, Krishna is saying. So if we can think about different examples of different personalities in Srimad-Bhagavatam who have escaped death by surrendering to Krishna, what can be the biggest example? Who has escaped death by surrendering unto Krishna? The biggest example we can think of? Ajamila. So he was literally a dying man, a frail, old, dying man, and he was dying on his deathbed. Ajamil, the Brahmana, he was dying. A Brahmana turned into the most sinful person, so he was dying on his deathbed, and he escaped his death. How did he escape? Because he surrendered. Mam ashritya. So Krishna is giving us this Bhagavad Gita. The knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is actually the cream of this milk, this transcendental. The most important part of a boiling pot of milk is the cream that forms at the top. So we take the cream, we collect the cream, and then we churn the cream and make ghee, butter. So that's the most important ingredient. And so Bhagavad Gita is the Sharansha Shastra said. So it's the most condensed form of knowledge that you can receive. So the most important thing that has ever been told in the Vedic scriptures is about liberation. And Krishna basically guarantees liberation. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam raja. We devotees hear this verse so many times because it literally establishes Krishna. Krishna himself establishes himself as the ultimate person to achieve. What's the most ultimate thing one can achieve in this world? That's what Krishna says, me. And Krishna establishes before saying, so Krishna knew that in the future people will doubt him on his claim that Surrender unto me. I shall uplift you. Do not fear. So Krishna knew that in the future people will try to point fingers. That's why he said this thing at the last. First, he had to establish himself as the Supreme Lord. And how does he do it? In the 10th chapter, he says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mata sarvam pravartate. So Krishna says, Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. So Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything. And then on the next chapter, Krishna shows his universal form. What is the universal form? It's the form of this universe. So Krishna shows that I am this universe in the form of his universal form. Krishna shows that everything is me, everything together. So there is this thing called God particle. Inside an atom, there are two elements, electrons and protons, and neutrons. So there is this tiny amount of force that's keeping the electrons and protons and the nucleus together so that they are in a stable form. So there's this force that's connecting, that's holding them together. That is Krishna, that is God, that is, otherwise how such brute amount of energy is somehow holding everything together, holding this whole universe together, this tiny bit of force inside an atom. So, and if you split that atom, you create, that's how atomic bombs work, nuclear fusion, nuclear fission. So that's how you take the atom and you destabilize the atom, and there is this incredible surge of energy. So the energy that's holding the insides, the elements inside the atom together, is the God particle. Is basically, scientists have no answer. They literally call this energy God particle. This particle that holds the electrons and protons, which are the basic foundational blocks of this universe. Everything in this material universe is made out of electrons and protons, atoms. And Krishna says, Paramanu. Paramanu and the Chayantarastam, in the Brahma Samhita, it said, inside every atom Krishna resides. That's what's holding the atom together. And one more example, who we can think of, who took surrender of Krishna at the time of almost death moment, and that devotee took shelter of Krishna. Gajendra. So Gajendra was on the verge of death. The powerful crocodile and in that state of fear, Gajendra, he plucked a lotus which was nearby. Plucked the lotus, and he took the lotus onto his trunk, Gajendra the elephant, and he pointed the trunk towards the sky, and he cried tears, and in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, that section of Srimad-Bhagavatam is known as Gajendra Moksha prayers. It's very beautiful prayers. So he offered those prayers, Gajendra Moksha, and he was saved. Because Narayana, Krishna, Vishnu himself came, and he used his Sudarshana disc to chop off the head of the crocodile and save his devotee. And one final example, who surrendered to Krishna and he was saved from all kinds of death. We are in his place. Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj, ki jai. He's the biggest example one can think of about surrendering. He's in fact the deity of the surrendering aspect of devotional service. There are 9 processes of devotional service, and one of the process is surrendering. So Prahlada is the prime example of surrender, and no one surrendered better than Prahlada Maharaj. At the tender age of 5, Prahlad Maharaj says, Komaram acharit pragyo dharman bhagavatan here. Durlabham manusham janma, tadapya durvam arthadam. So a few days back during our Brahmotsava festival period, Satchidananda Maharaj, he so expertly made the whole sense out of this verse. Kaumaram acharet pragyo, from the tender age of Kaumara, childhood, one has to undergo this life of devotional service. Acharet pragyo, acharet, acharana, or the behavior. And then now we try to have a contrast. So here at the end, Prabhupada, he basically gives this contrast between devotees and non-devotees. So there is this famous verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam, which basically says that even those who are in the Brahman realization, or even those who have gone and merged themselves into the Brahman light, the Brahman Parampadam Tata, even if they achieve the Parampadam, which is the Brahman aspect of realization of God, even if they achieve it, they will have to come down. Adho patanti. Adho means down. Patanti means fall down. So even if they are situated in the light, they'll have to fall down. Just as people in the Svargaloka, people in the heavenly planets, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, Shine punye martyalokam vishanti. Shine punye, after their punya, after their good deeds, their everyone performs good deeds, pious activities, and they're basically building this bank balance. So after their bank balance of pious activities is over, they will have to come down from the heavens to this material world. It's because even heavenly planets, they are a part of this material existence. So they are not spiritual, they are material. They have to fall down. And Chine Punye Martalokam Vishanti. So nothing is temporary. No form of happiness or satisfaction in this material world is temporary. It's permanent. It's all temporary. So that's why the third and final aspect of realization of God after Paramatma, after Brahman, and after Paramatma comes Bhagavan, which is Krishna himself. Krishna in this Satchidananda form, goodness, eternity, and bliss. Bhagavan, Krishna himself. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So we end in this note about how Krishna described. We need to understand first of all, Brahman is the realization of Brahman means person who is Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, person who has realized the science of self-realization. He has realized who he is. So first of all, one aspect is Brahman as the light emanating from the body of Krishna, the Brahma Jyoti. That's the Brahman light. And the person, and in the Vedic scriptures, a person who is self-realized, who has realized this material world is false, and we need to get out of the cycle of birth and death, is also said to be in the realization of Brahman, because Brahman realization literally means realizing Krishna, realizing God. Brahman means God, because Brahman is actually is one of the way people realize God. Because this whole theory about God is some light or God is some energy, it is also true. In the Bhagavad Gita, that's what it's said, that out of the three, the lowest form of God consciousness, the lowest form of God realization is the Brahman realization. So a person situated in Brahman realization means he achieves the Brahma Jyoti, but again, after achieving the Brahma Jyoti, he again has to fall down. So to answer your question, why is Brahma Jyoti, or the Brahman realization is basically said here. So Brahma Jyoti is different from the Brahman realization. So Brahman realization is we are realizing Brahman, Krishna is known as Para Brahma, who is above, who is beyond the Brahman effulgence, who is the Param Brahma. He is the topmost Brahma. So Krishna's form is the light, and Krishna's form is the Paramatma as the Supersoul, and Krishna's form as the Para Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. So people who are situated in the Brahman realization, they are called as Brahman here in this verse. That's what you're asking. They are called as Brahman because they achieve the Brahma Jyoti. So they kind of go into this Brahma Jyoti, but it's also temporary. They will have to come back to this earth, as we hear from the verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam. So I hope I answered your question. So anyone else? Yes. Yes. Yes, so that's what. So that's what Mayavadis interpret. So the Vedanta Sutras, or the theology of the Vedanta, they give these sutras or formulas to understanding God or understanding oneself. And the first one of the sutras is Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am Brahman. So the Mayavadis take this claim that, oh, it's literally said, I am Brahman, which means I am God. So that's not the true interpretation. Our acharyas have given the true interpretation, which means that I am Brahman means I'm part of the Supreme. I'm part of the Supreme, and I'm qualitatively same as the Krishna himself. But quantitatively, in quantity, I'm much more less. Krishna is infinitesimal, we are minuscule. Krishna has infinite amount of energy, we have very limited energy. So in quality, yes, we are Brahman, but in quantity, we are jivas. So that's the difference. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari.